Are you a breeder looking to showcase your show pigs? With a Walton Webcasting Show Pig Shoot, we are your go-to video service for capturing the full picture of your show pigs. We specialize in providing top quality video services for breeders like you. Our skilled video team comes directly to your operation. You talk the pigs, we capture the video. Whether it's baby pigs, boars, gilts, or sows, we ensure that their unique features will shine through. With the power of our website and social media, your professionally recorded videos are streamed live, allowing potential customers from all over the country to view and appreciate the quality of your show pigs. We handle the technicalities so you can focus on what you do best, raising exceptional livestock. To schedule your next show pig shoot, call Rhonda at 765-431-7367. Welcome to the ultimate show on the track. Today we celebrate our premier partners, the driving force behind the livestock industry across the nation. Get ready to witness the power of partnership as our premier partners take to the asphalt. Green light and they're off. On the track we have our first partner, Layered Premium Blend Genetics from premiumblendgenetics.com. Next up, it's Bex Hybrids from bexhybrids.com. And here comes Showright from showright.com. Coming around, we have Brad Howe Ford from bhiford.com. And here comes First Farmers Bank and Trust from ffbt.com. And rounding out the racers, it's Kennedy Ventures from kennedyventuresok.com. On the track and in the ring, it's all about collaboration and teamwork. Join us in honoring our premier partners because together they're the driving force of the livestock industry.
It's time for Cattleman's Congress. This is a Walton Webcasting production. Livestock like you've never seen before.
Morning. We'd like to welcome you to the final day here at the 6th Annual Cattlemen's Congress. This has been a show put on by cattlemen for cattlemen, and we're so happy that all of you joined us here for the 2026 show. Before we get started this morning in the OG&E Coliseum, if we could please have you all rise for the national anthem. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, good morning and welcome to the Cattlemen's Congress. We are excited to get started here in the OG&E Coliseum. In Arena 1, we'll look to get started with the Open Santa Gertrudis show, and in Arena 2, we'll start with the Open Beefmasters. Welcoming to the ring in Arena 1, Mr. Chad Oakes, and in Arena 2, Dr. Mark Johnson.
Start off here with Produce a Dam on the Beefmaster side. 4 good cattle out here in this, and I like the added rib, just a little more doability, uniformity even, in this pair of heifer calves for Produce that I'm going to use. Congratulations to these exhibitors.
Well, congratulations to start out your Open Beefmaster show. We brought in your first class, which will be a group class. First place Produce a Dam was exhibited by Hayden Lee of Millsap, Texas. We then brought second place in, exhibited by Blue Ribbon Beefmasters.
Only one entry in our get of sire, and this is 3 good cattle out here. Nice bull, couple heifers. This group has got good bone. They're sound. I like watching them get around out here. Very deserving, and congratulations to this group of exhibitors. Single entry June heifer calf here in the Beefmaster side. Really stylish heifer. Heifer that ties in high neck to shoulder. Couples that with a wide pin set. Nice top in this heifer. Good degree of bone and muscle. My congratulations to this young man. We'll see her back in a champion drive here in a minute.
Place in the Gatasire will go to Sofia Garza. First place in the open females in our first class was exhibited by Noah Mullins.
Some good heifers in this class over on the Beefmaster side, and they get interesting. There's some variation in kind in these, and in the end, this heifer that's going to win it, that's painted up through her underline, I'm pretty comfortable is as sound and flexible and athletic as anything that we've got out here. And it gets interesting watching these cattle move. We're looking at young heifers. They probably haven't been off the farm or ranch very many times, if at all, before you get them in there to the show. So give them a little time and give me a little time to sort it out. And I'm pretty comfortable that that's a really big ribbed heifer, a heifer that's got a lot of thickness. I like her forearm diameter. Really appreciate the flexibility she's got at the ground. Does she give up a little bit of maybe length of body, weight per day of age in this class? I would say yes. But in terms of body type, composition, and a good skeleton, she's the one that I'm pretty comfortable in tying to. A really high-performing heifer that comes in second. And I like a great deal about that heifer from her hooks forward. I think her rib cage is good. Her length of body is outstanding. She's very attractive up front. I'd change the heifer in her hind leg and the way she gets out and goes. She wants to shuffle just a little whenever we set her on the move. Another heifer that in terms of body type may match up more with that heifer that led off the class comes in third. This one, though, having an attractive neck, she's a little rougher built in her shoulder. She could be a little different in her hip and hind leg, but in terms of one that looks like the body type will make her an easy-keeping cow, there's a lot to appreciate there. A couple of heifers, fourth and fifth, that give up some width, but this young lady's heifer that's going to turn and go in fourth place there, one that I'd tweak just a little in terms of making her toe ahead a little bit truer, but I do see some future. I think she's pretty green, good, useful kind of cattle. And then a dark red heifer that ends up fifth. She's long, she's attractive on the profile. I'd open her up through her chest and make her a little bolder through her heart and forerib.
Well, congratulations over here in the Beefmaster ring. Results out of Class 4, first place exhibited by Blue Ribbon Beefmasters of De Leon, Texas, with W.R. Marin's Kiss. Second place in that class exhibited by Cal Tassin of Sandy Hook, Mississippi, with MX Nina 508. Third place to go to Sophia Garza. Fourth place exhibited by Lila Billen, and fifth place went to Elijah Randall. We're now going to welcome in those first and seconds. We'll select the champion reserve heifer calf. Back over in the
find ourselves back out here in division and two really good class winners, but different again in the way they're built. This darker heifer is so neat on the profile, great neck to shoulder attachment, long hip in her, straight in her lines, parallel in her bottom line. I like the set to her hind leg really well, and I like her composition and her muscle. I would change that heifer just a little bit in the angle that she's got up front in her shoulder and right down to the ground, and tweak her just a little bit right there. But I see a lot of good, a lot of future in her, depending on how that holds. Then we've got this heifer that's moderate frame but long and just powerful and super flexible. A little reluctant to really want to work with the exhibitor out here this morning, but when you get her comfortable and watch her go, I really like the degree of flexibility. I like that body type. I like her muscle. I would change that one a little in the strength right behind her shoulder. So it becomes an interesting decision for me. I like a lot of parts about both these heifers. I'm more comfortable tying to the one that I like the flexibility on. We're going to use that heifer from the second class, drop back to this younger heifer for reserve and division.
Well, congratulations, your champion heifer calf, exhibited by Blue Ribbon Beefmasters with W.R. Marion's Kiss, reserve champion, exhibited by Noah Mullins. We'll now welcome in your first class in the next division. This will be Class 5.
3 heifers in this class, and this is a good class, but their top 3 are interesting to me in different ways. This Black Baldy, you look at her profile, the long level hips she's got in her, and just the way she gets out and goes. She looks like an athlete. She's got reach. She fills her track. She's got some bone. There's some width to her chest. I don't know that she's any heavier muscled than the next 2 heifers, but I really like her composition. She's green. She's wide set at her pins relative to that angle to her shoulder as you look down her from her top. Got that wedge shape. Yeah, we could probably make her a little bit stouter from behind, but the swoop to her belly, the length of body, there's a lot that heifer ties together that appeals to me. A couple of stouter hipped heifers come in second and third in this group. This heifer then second, just not quite as neat made up in her front end. Doesn't have that same hip design, but I really like the forearm and the body shape and the thickness that you get in her. That heifer, maybe not angled quite as right up front, but the hind leg structure and the flexibility there strikes me as really favorable. Then this heifer that comes in third, I was intrigued by her when she walks in. She's another one of those. She's a little reluctant out here to show this morning, but I think there's a lot of future to that one. She is thick, she's green, good body shape, attractive up in her front end. She's a heifer that I like her bone and her foot shape, and she ends up looking a little rounder hipped and doesn't profile quite as good, and a lot of times doesn't move off her rear legs quite as well as those heifers that beat her, but I see a lot of good in that one as well. Heifer that ends up fourth, I appreciate her performance, weight per day of age, tremendous amount of body dimension in this heifer, really deep. I would probably, relative to age, like to clean her up just a little bit in her hock joints, maybe see her a little bit trimmer. I don't think she ends up, for all her performance and depth, quite matching the width that we've got in some of the top end of that class. And then a pretty sound heifer that ends up in fifth, just gives up some weight per day of age in that particular group.
Well, congratulations over here in the Santa Gertrudis ring. Result.
It's another really strong class, and I really like this heifer, the Windsor. She is so nice to look at on the profile, balances up extremely well, got that big maternal sweep to her rib cage and runs really deep through her rear rib and flank. I like the degree of bone she's got, really like her flexibility, which she gets out and goes, the hip structure. And there's an ample degree of muscle to that heifer as well. I like that one really well. Wish she would relax her tail head. It probably needs to set in her just a bit smoother than what it does. That's a really good heifer. This red one that led in first just kind of caught my attention from the time she came in. I really appreciate easy keeping, big rib cattle, and along with that, this is another one that's extremely sound, flexible, hits the ground really true, fills her track really nice. She's a little fleshy. She's not as attractive up in her front end as that heifer that wins the class, but there's a lot of good in that particular female. Another one that has got some of the same advantages in terms of just width, muscle, big rib cage as this heifer that comes in third. Not as attractive up front, probably not quite as good in her hip and hind leg as those heifers that are beating her, but there's a lot of good in that female as well. We really get into a couple heifers here next, have a lot of similarities. They're long, they tie high from neck to shoulder, they end up giving you a lot of look and profile. They both are just a nickel narrower all the way through than those cattle that are beating them. I'd open them up just a little. That brindle heifer I do think is a little bit the thicker, bolder sprung one of this particular pair. Good kind of cattle, just need a little more to them. And then we get into a red heifer that's going to follow out next, and I like her body type. I like the rib, the depth that she's got. She ends up a little plainer in front. She needs to be a little better in her hip structure, but I appreciate the substance and the body volume. A black heifer that comes out next, extremely long, very trim, very green, and again, looking at this age cattle, a lot to appreciate there, but we need to bust her open a little wider, right in her forerib and heart there, and see just a little more to her. We end with a couple of moderate-sized heifers that look like there's ample volume. In this case, they give up some weight per day of age.
Well, congratulations over here in the Santa Gertrudis ring. Out of Class 6, first place exhibited by Santiago Garza of Edinburgh, Texas, with Ellis's Marissa. Second place exhibited by Callie Ellis of LaWard, Texas. Third place will go to Caden Lee. Fourth place exhibited by Braden Lee. Fifth place went to Peyton Medlock. Sixth place exhibited by Howard Johnson III. Seventh place, and congratulations, goes to Olivia King.
top this class. They're both good. They're interesting. They're different. But this lighter colored spotted up heifer, I think she's just got more power. She's more impressive compositionally. She's a little bit the trimmer one of the two. As you look through her underline and her chest floor, she's sure the bigger top, wider pinned heifer. She's got a lot of bone. That heifer is really long, and when she gets parked and set up, she balances really nice. I think the heifer's good enough up in her front end structure. I would like to change her in her hind leg, and I think that's her liability, and that's what makes this pair so interesting to me. The black heifer that's going to follow her in second, better hind leg, handles it better. I like the way that heifer goes and reaches and hits the ground softer and a little more athletic on her rear leg, and she balances up really nice herself. She's got a little more navel flap. She's got a little more bark on her that you can see through her chest floor. Really good heifer. In this case, just gives up some added dimension and width. And then a really solid heifer that comes in third. Tremendously big rib, a lot of weight per day of age. One that doesn't handle her hind legs quite as true as what she could. Can't quite match the look and balance of those top two heifers, but a lot of good in her as a cow, I would say. A growthy, long-bodied heifer that's really trim, ends up in fourth. I'd like to open her up just a little and change her in her hip structure. And then a heifer that's also pretty green, pretty long, pretty sound, but just needs to be fuller in her heart and have a little more rib cage in the middle of her. Nice set of heifers. This is as challenging a class to place as what I've seen today. You've got 4 pretty good heifers, and something about each one of them you'd want to change a little bit. Not all of them are cooperating and wanting to be a show heifer, but in the end, the combination of structural soundness, a good flat cannon bone, and a degree of substance and body volume and weight per day of age, I think this heifer, the dark red, white underlined one, ties it together pretty well, and I'm pretty comfortable winning the class with her. She's not overly cooperative. I'm sure there'll come a day when she wants to be a show heifer and is comfortable with what goes on in the ring. That day's not quite here for her, but she genuinely ties together those positives and I think stands out in this group. Then we go to a heifer that probably is as moderate in size as any of them out here, and yet I still think you've got some genuine muscle and width. I like that wedge shape you get on as you look at her from the rear. I think there's good turn to her body. I think her bottom line runs parallel, and I think she is the other probably sounder-footed one, towing ahead pretty true, getting out and going with some flexibility and filling her track. The heifer that ends up third, really long, really thick. I like her compositionally really well. I don't think she's bad in the angles in her rear leg, but she gets, as we set her in motion, she's a little rock forward in her shoulder, and it makes her overstep just a little bit as we get her out on the lead. And then there are parts in this 4th place heifer that I like as well as any of them. She is great in her top line. She's good in her hip. She runs deep through her rear ribbon flank. She and those components gives you as much proportion and balance as any. But that heifer needs a little more angle to her shoulder, needs to be a little cleaner up front, and she just gives up some width and muscle in comparison. I am very complimentary of this division of heifers. This has been a fun division to work through. Classes are deep. Quality of the females has been good, and a real nice set of class winners back out here. I'll go through and talk about them and tell you what I see in the cattle. But ringside, let's give them a round of applause. This has been a strong division. Starting with this Baldy that came out of the youngest class, a heifer that is just really easy to look at on the profile. She's got a big forearm. She's got some bone. Ties super high, neck to shoulder. Long spine, long level hip, long through the plane of her stifle. You set that heifer in motion. She toes ahead true. She is as right in her joint angles and skeleton-wise as anything that we've got back out here. I like the wedge shape to her as I get on her from behind. I think she's got enough muscle. If I'm going to improve her or think about the future on that heifer, what I think really makes her a force to reckon with is a big one, is that she continues to open up and have even more substance to her. And I think her best days are probably as a big bred at some point, because she's sure got the skeleton, the composition, the build right now to think she'll make a nice big heifer at some point. The heifer that comes out of the second class, a lot of similar comments can be made. I like that heifer's skeleton. I like her flexibility at the ground, the angle to her hock. I think she toes ahead really true. That heifer has got a really big sweep to her rib cage. She's full through her heart, runs deep through her flank, deceptive in the amount of muscle thickness and expression as you really get on her and look. That heifer's got some power and width. And another one, as you start breaking her down, thinking about the proportions, the way things blend together, it's easy to like the balance, and she is exceptionally good in balance. What's interesting is I say that, and we had an Angus heifer that did this about 3 years ago. That heifer could be a little smoother in her tail head, but she gets set up and relaxes, and it kind of goes away, and you don't notice it. But you set her in motion, and some of this can be nerves and being out in the ring for one of the first few times, but she'll want to crank it and hold it out. And young man, I don't know how you fix that, because we never could quite figure out how to fix it on that one we were showing a few years ago. But hopefully in time, she'll relax, and that'll tend to go away. But we could tweak her right there just a little bit in her tail head. This heifer that comes out of the third class, super powerful. A lot of bone, a lot of width, big top in her, super high in that neck to shoulder attachment, really good in her underline. I'd just change that heifer on her hind legs. She doesn't set down quite as athletic as what she could. From there forward, there's a lot to like. I see a lot of cow power in her. Dark red, white underline heifer that comes out of the oldest class. Big substance, high volume, easy keeping, easy growing, a lot of WDA, a lot of length of body in that female. I like that she really goes with reach, grabs the ground. She's probably not as aesthetically pleasing from the some of these cattle we've got in this division in terms of hip structure and just right down through the base of her chest, but I think there's a lot of positives in her. These heifers surfaced out of some really competitive classes. My compliments to them again. I'm going to tie to the heifer out of the second class for division champion and drop down to this youngest heifer for reserve.
To ring your champion spring heifer calf Exhibited by Santiago Garza of Edinburgh, Texas, with Ellis Marissa, reserve champion. And congratulations went to Maddox McCullough of Bellevue, Texas, with KTCC Tulsi. We'll now welcome in your next class here in the Beefmaster ring. This will be Class 9.
Nice set of females in here, and this red, white underlined heifer I'm going to use just kind of overwhelms me with substance and rib, and I like her body type really well. These top two heifers are a lot alike. They've got weight per day of age. They've got length of body. I think both of them give you a good look as you study them from the side. Know that skeletally they're a lot different as you set them in motion, but there's a little more bone, a little more dimension, and particularly a little bigger rib cage in this red heifer that's going to win it. The brindle that comes in second to her, she's a little more upright in the angle to her shoulder and just a little shallower right there in her heart. But beyond that, the top line, the hip, the hind leg, there's a lot to like in that heifer. Good female, and again, I appreciate the performance in both those. A long-bodied heifer coming out in third. I'd like to see that heifer, and even though she's got some bone and I think some muscle expression, just like to drop her down a little deeper and see a little bigger rib cage in her. We end with a heifer that's got a good degree of thickness. I think she gets out and goes in good shape, may have a little more reach to her than that heifer right in class in front of her, but she gives up some weight per day of age. A big top, big hipped heifer, toes ahead really true. Could be a little deeper in her flank line, but my congratulations to this young man. We'll see her back in a division drive in a minute. I really like the top two heifers in this class, and they're similar in a lot of ways. They're robust, big-ribbed heifers. They've got some muscle. They've got some bone. They're both really sound. They're athletic. And then from there, this black heifer goes a little higher gear in terms of her length of body, length of front. I think her hips longer and leveler. She probably, of that particular pair, I'd say is a little bit heavier boned. I like her foot shape. She's athletic. Nice heifer, and she beats a really good heifer. This heifer that comes in second, she strikes me as a little more moderate, huge rib cage, easy keeper, not quite as crisp in her lines and strength of top as that heifer that beats her, but that's a good pair of cattle. And the third place heifer's got some good in her. She's opened up, she's big top, she's heavy muscled, gets a little shorter, steeper back in that hip structure. Good trio of heifers in that class of Octobers. Top two heifers in this class I actually find to be pretty close. Now they're really different in the way they're built, but the extra bone, the extra length, the extra weight per day of age of this more powerful heifer is why she leads off to me. I think she's got enough rib. I really like her muscle. I think she's got enough balance as you get on her from the side. I think she does a nice job of filling her track as we set her in motion. The more moderate heifer that comes in second looks like a super easy keeping cow down the road. She's got a big rib cage in her. She's a little fuller through her heart than that heifer that leads it off. I think her neck to shoulder attachment's good. She just gives up some bone, some stoutness, and some growth in that particular pair of heifers. Different types of heifers, but a lot of good in both of them. The heifer that comes in third, long-bodied. I think she's got some top in her. I like the way she's made up through her neck and front end. She's just a little tentative in her reach and step as we set her in motion.
Well, congratulations over in the Santa Gertrudis ring. First
We'll go back through and I'll tell you what I see in each of these class winners, and we'll end up with a division champion and reserve. But heifer that came out of the first class, a very just complete heifer. And it starts, to me, with the body type she's got. I like her rib cage and the way it lays in her. I think she's wide enough chested. I think she's got enough bone. I think that heifer gets out and goes in good shape. I think that heifer is attractive enough up through her front end. Gives you a lot of balance. Is she the biggest hipped one that we got in this particular group? Probably not, but I think sure ample in that particular regard. And she's a hard heifer to pick a huge hole in, even though you might find some others out here in this set of class winners that you like different parts about. But a heifer that I'm pretty fond of, one of the real contenders that we got out here. This heifer that comes out of the second class, a thick, big-topped heifer, a lot of turn to her upper rib, attractive up in her front end, I think goes with some reach. Sometimes you get that kind of body type, there's not quite as much depth there as I'd like to see, and that's where I would change that one, but a good heifer in her own right. This heifer that comes out of the third class, I like a lot of things about her. I think she balances up really nice, a lot of bone, a lot of look, really deep back through her rear rib and flank, and just I really like the hip structure in that heifer about as much as anything out here. I think she's wide set in her pins. I think she's really square as you look at her from about any angle. I think she's deceptively stout, goes along with being pretty feminine and going out and moving, I think, pretty well. Now, having said that, where would I change her? I would clean up that heifer and her hocks and a little bit, in particular that right one back behind and in the inside of it. But I still like the way she goes really well. And then a real stout, long, thick, big-topped heifer that comes out of Class 4. She's a sound one, maybe not quite as good in her hip structure or look up through her front end as what we could chisel one out to be, but a good, useful kind of heifer that looks like she's going to potentially make bulls as a cow when you think of that degree of bone and length and muscle that she's got. There's some really good second-place heifers in here as well. I'm going to take one more look, and we'll get you a division champion.
Being fall heifer calf over here in the Beefmaster ring, exhibited by Olivia King of Bryan, Texas, with BARG Kiss My Sass, 24 over 153T. And congratulations, reserve champion coming out of Class 9, exhibited by Sophia Garza of Edinburgh, Texas, with HUB Mary. We'll now welcome in your first class here in our intermediate female division.
Single entry August heifer here. Heifer that's got a great top line, really level hip in her. My congratulations to this young man. We'll see her back in a division drive. Single entry here. We're getting into these intermediates. This is an attractive fronted heifer that's got some muscle, good length of stride. We'll see her back in a division drive. Congratulations to this young lady.
Well, congratulations, your overall champion female here in the Santa Gertrude Grand Champion.
This is a good class of heifers. The top two are different, but they're both have got a lot of things that I like. This heifer that's going to win it, I think her eye appeal, her balance, a little neater up through her front end. Great top line in that female. I think she's got some bone. Gets out and goes in good enough shape. We might tweak her just a little bit in towing ahead a little truer up front, but that's a really nice, tremendous look to her. The heifer that ends up second is a really big-hearted, bold-sprung female. Looks like she'll make a real easy keeper. A heifer that's got an ample amount of muscle, a little more navel. Can't quite match the look of that heifer that wins it, but a real useful kind of female long-term. A good heifer that comes in third. She's extremely long. She's extremely thick. She's one that's a little off right behind her shoulders and doesn't balance quite as well as those top 2 heifers that end up finishing ahead of her in here. But there is some serious length, some muscle, some weight per day of age to that female that I appreciate. And then the heifer that comes in 4th, deep enough bodied, just a lighter bone type heifer, gives up some stoutness in that particular group.
Results from Class 15. First place went to Callie Ellis of LaWard, Texas, with Ellis Simone E.T. Second place in that class will go to Sophia Garza. Third place went to Austin Garza. And fourth place went to Santiago Garza.
Good set of heifers in these mays. This black heifer that's going to win it is just a real complete one. Good look to her, a lot of rib cage, good muscle, good bone, solid structured. We'll see her back in the champion division drive just a minute. Heifers in second and third get a little closer in my opinion. I really like the hip structure a little better on this heifer that ends up second. Probably a nickel heavier bone, a little leveler from hooks to pins. This heifer that comes in third, looks like she's going to have nice udder development some point down the road, short, refined teats that we can see, moderate kind of cow with a big rib cage. A lot of good in that one. Good class all the way through, but those top three heifers really easy to like. And the heifer that comes in fourth, big rib, a lot to her, a little fleshier than some, just a little plainer from the side than some of those cattle that are beating her. A good heifer that ends up fifth, really correct in her lines. A heifer that gets a little flatter built as we get on her from behind. get into these intermediates, and an impressive set of class winners. We get them back out here as we did once earlier today. I want to begin with just asking ringside, pay these off with a big round of applause. We'll go back through them. I'll tell you what I see in each one of the heifers, and this is an interesting division to work and as you get into these summerborns. Heifer that came out of the first class, this youngest August, heifer that's really long-bodied. As she gets parked, I like how long she is from hooks to pins. She's a heifer that I think goes in good shape, toes ahead pretty true, goes with enough reach. We could probably chisel her out a little neater looking in her front end and maybe even pull that tail head, set it just a little flatter in her than what it does. The heifer that comes out of the second class, she's pretty high in the way she ties from neck to shoulder. She's a heifer that's got some muscle. She's got a little more condition on her than maybe some of these do, but I think she's good enough in that regard. She's a heifer that's very flexible and sound, gets out and goes in good shape. Looks like she's going to make a pretty moderate, easy-keeping kind of cow. Could she use a little more bone and stoutness? Probably so, particularly in comparison to some of the class winners we've got out here, but a very useful kind of female in her own right. And then we get to these heifers out of the third and fourth classes, and that's where it gets pretty interesting to me because I like a lot of parts on both these females. This heifer that comes out of the third class, she's got a really neat look. She's really heavy bone. She gets out and goes in good shape, a particularly good hind leg in that heifer. She's a heifer that's shown and presented a little different than some of these. There's hair on her, but I think that heifer is actually pretty trim, pretty thick, pretty stout. I like the size of her forearm. I like the proportions as the way she blends together really well. I think that's a real contender as we get into this division drive. Then the big slick heifer that came out of the fourth class, a heifer that you just look at body type and substance. She's as easy for me to like in that particular regard as any of these are. I think as you work through them and study that heifer on profile, she's another one that balances up. Her proportions are really good. Is she as heavy boned as some of these? Maybe not. That heifer, probably if I'm going to change her, I'd like to see her get her rear leg up and flex it. She wants to shuffle just a little more, even though she toes ahead really true, and I think she's sure adequately sound. That's where I'd tweak that one, but a really good female. Really strong division, really close decision, I think, on a couple of these heifers. I'll take a closer look and get us our division champion reserve.
Well, congratulations back over in the Santa Gertrude. The Beefmaster ring, your champion intermediate female, exhibited by Callie Ellis with Ellis Simone E.T. Reserve champion. We'll go to Cal Tassin of Sandy Hook, Mississippi with KTCC Clarissa. We're now going to welcome in your next class. This will be class 17.
Good set of heifers. We come out in these Aprils, and this black spotted up heifer that's going to win it. It's just so much better in terms of balance, hip structure. I like the depth to her twist. I think this heifer really gives you a good look from the side, and a lot of it's because she's so big ribbed. She's long-bodied, toes ahead true. She's a heifer that I think gets out and goes in good shape, and has got some stoutness to her. The heifer that's really similar to her is this red one that's going to follow up in second place. Another big ribbed heifer that I think got some width right through her center, good degree of muscle, not quite as good in her hip structure as that heifer that leads it off. Then we come in third with a heifer that's really long-bodied, really deep. I'd like to open that heifer up a little more, see her with a notch more bone than what she's got, just a little more width in comparison to those top two. Heifer that ends up fourth, maybe a little thicker, really big top in that one. She gives up some balance, isn't quite right in her hip structure.
Class 17, first place exhibited by Sophia Garza with Ellis Lilly. Second place will go to Kyoto Cattle Company. Third place went to Lila Billen. And fourth place will go to Catherine Leonard.
Single entry march in this class, big ribbed heifer, long-bodied heifer, heifer that toes ahead really true. Might tweak her in her hip structure just a little, but we'll congratulate the young lady and see this one back in a champion drive here in a minute. It's a really nice effort to win this class. Another one that's got three-dimensional frame. She's long, she's deep, she's got an excellent rib shape. Great top line in that female. Toes ahead true, gets out and goes like an athlete. She is a nice heifer. And she wins a good class, but she wins it pretty easy. The heifer that's a lot like her, the one that comes in second, another big-ribbed, robust-bodied kind of female, not quite as attractive up front, not quite as level in her hip, but a really good female in her own right. Nice pair of cattle in the top two spots of this class. This heifer that comes in third, I like her pattern. I like the way she's built. I think just in terms of running deeper through her flank line, hip structure, she balances a little better than the next two heifers in the lineup. I'd stretch her out just a little. I'd give her a little more bone if we're going to improve her. The heifer that comes in next, a stout, big-hipped kind of heifer, one that gets a little tucked in that flank, needs to be a little longer hipped in her own right, but I appreciate the width and the stoutness she has. We end with a bigger frame kind of heifer that toes ahead really true, but she runs too shallow through her flank, kind of takes away from her balance and look. to work. I've enjoyed working through them, and let's give them a round of applause before I talk the cattle. This heifer that won the first class in this division, she really strikes me well as we get off of her on profile. Talked about that in class. She's a long-hipped heifer, good in her top line. She's got a high neck-to-shoulder attachment. I like the angle of her joints really well. I think that heifer has got really good depth of flank, and I just really appreciate looking at her from the side and watching her out and go. Is she as heavy muscle to some? Probably not, but I sure think ample in that regard. I'd probably clean that heifer a little bit in her hocks, but I like that heifer a great deal. She's one of the contenders that we've got back out here in the division drive. This one that comes out of the second class, big rib female, a lot of internal capacity to her. I like the top. I like the running gear in this heifer. I'd tweak her just a little bit in her hip and hind leg structure, but I like that heifer a great deal, and I think she's got a lot to offer. This heifer that comes out of the Februaries, she is appealing in her color. She's kind of eye-catching in that regard, but then you really start studying the heifer, and she's one that's got muscle. She is really high neck to shoulder in that attachment. She has got a very supple, thin neck on her relative to being big-barreled and wide and opened up all the way through her back through her quarter. I like how clean jointed she is. I like her flexibility at the ground. I like watching that heifer move. We could get into some minor details. Maybe a heifer this age, we'd like to see her dropping down, just showing a little more udder development. Don't know what her status is in that regard. That's not the decision I need to make today. But I think this heifer, in terms of proportion and look, along with ample power, body, muscle, really good structural base, is really easy to like. And so a strong division. My compliments to these exhibitors, some really good second place heifers over there. I'm going to tie to this heifer out of the third class for division champion. We're going to drop down to that heifer from the first class for reserve.
Thank you. Well, congratulations over in the Beefmaster ring, your champion junior female, exhibited by Cal Tassin, Sandy Hook, Mississippi. That's KTCC Celia. And reserve champion will go to Sophia Garza with Alice Lilly.
Get into these senior yearlings, really straight-lined, elegant fronted heifer over here is a single entry. She's one that we might drop a little more depth into, but my congratulations to this young lady. Nice heifer, and we'll see her back in a division drive.
Well, congratulations back over in the Girt Ring.
Single entry in these Septembers and a nice pair. I like this moderate cow. I like her udder. I like her teat structure. I like her body type. I like her skeleton, her flexibility. She's not the biggest or heaviest bone one, but she looks like a cow that'll be living in production for a long time and doing her job. She calved right as a 2-year-old, and this is a really stylish black heifer calf at the side. Looks like the cow's doing a good job. We'll see them back in division drive. My congratulations to these exhibitors. Only a couple in this division, and talked about both of them in class. I think there's a lot of good in this black heifer, the one in the first class. I really appreciate this cow, this pair that comes in as a September, and I think she's got a lot of pluses. She tied together. We're going to tie to those for division champion, drop down to that class 1 for reserve.
Well, congratulations, your champion senior female, exhibited by Blue Ribbon Beefmasters. Reserve champion that division will go to Howard Johnson III. We're now going to welcome in your 2 single entries for the summer pair division.
Well, we represent some productivity when we get into these cow-calf pairs. We've actually got 2 separate ages and 2 different class winners, but this is a division, and I'll talk about these and tell you what I see in them, and then we'll name one a champion in reserve. But the cow up here to my left is one that udder quality, teat refinement, moderation of cow size, the right kind of body type, good flexibility at the ground, easy to like. Can we make cows bigger than her? Yeah. But she looks like one that's got a lot of function, built for the long term. The bull calf's pretty green, but it looks like there's a lot of growth in him. Nice pair of cattle there. And next one is interesting to me because I am getting long in the tooth. But at 61 years of age, I can say this is the first time judging cow-calf pairs that anyone ever brought me twins. So congratulations to you all. We live for interesting life experiences, and that cow is doing a really good job with both those calves. Those calves are growing. They both look like they're going to be pretty good. I like this cow. I think the cow is super long. I would change her udder structure just a little. She's a little unbalanced in the way that it sets in her on that right side. But in both cases, very deserving class winners. They could have stood a lot of competition out here had we broke this out or seen more of them. In the end, I favor this one with only one calf. We're going to use them as division champions, but congratulations to both of them.
Well, congratulations, your champion cow-calf pair over here in the Beefmaster ring, exhibited by Callie Ellis of LaWard, Texas, with Hagen, Bobby Joe, and reserve champion. We'll go to Avery Pearson. Back over in the Santa Gertrudis ring.
This has been a lot of fun to work this show, and it has been because the cattle have been really good. I'm not a Beefmaster breeder. I don't follow this breed super close, but the opportunity to come out here and work through these cattle, from the first produce a dam that we walked out here this morning, I saw 4 really good heifers. This thing has got better and better, and I've just really enjoyed it. My life and my livelihood is breeding cattle, marketing cattle. Tried to be a good show dad in my lifetime and a good husband, but I love the cattle business, and I love looking at good cattle. And I like cattle that are sound, their toes point forward, they move like an athlete, pick their legs up off the ground, flex, fill their track, good foot shape, good bone, good composition, laying on top of that skeleton. And cattle that have got growth and performance but don't look excessive in terms of frame have always been the cattle that have worked for me, and I've tried to use those kind as we went through this. There's genuinely about 4 heifers out here that we start talking about splitting hairs between, and it gets really close. But I've enjoyed it. Appreciate the opportunity. Appreciate you all having me. I'll take a closer look and pick a couple champions, but I think we owe this set of division champions and reserves that are out here a really big round of applause, because this is a good set of cattle.
Well, congratulations, your grand champion female here in our Open Beefmaster show. It's Cattleman's Congress, exhibited by Cal Tassin, Sandy Hook, Mississippi. That's KTCC Celia. And congratulations, Reserve Grand Champion coming out of Class 6, exhibited by Santiago Garza. That was Ellis Marissa.
bulls that we've got out here. I like a lot of parts of both of them. I'm going to use the red one, I think, in a pair of bulls that are sound, athletic, toe ahead true, and fill their track. That one's the one that's just a little stouter and wider built. Got a little more muscle as we get on him from behind. And I probably like to angle to his sheath just a little better in this particular pair. Take nothing away from this black bull that's going to end up second to him. That rascal is great in his top line. Got a long level hip in him. Really sound at the ground. I'd just like to open him up and make him a nickel thicker.
Second place in that class will go to Howard Johnson III.
February bull calf to lead off this class. I really like his performance. I like his width. I like how wide he's built all the way through. Full of muscle. Good look to him from the side. Good sheath angle to him. That's a really nice bull. And probably the bull that offers the next most of a lot of those things is this light tan bull that comes in second. Another one that's sound-footed. Just can't quite match how opened up and thick that darker red bull is that wins it. Then we get into a couple bulls that I like their soundness. They end up third and fourth because there's not quite as much performance and WDA to them. I do like the added thickness and muscle in this third place bull more so than the one in fourth.
Well, congratulations. Class 27, first place was exhibited by Cal Tassin. Second place go to Kaylee Beeson. Third place exhibited by Briley Clemmer. And fourth place go to Caitlin Reed. We'll now welcome in Class 28 before the division.
Good set of calves in this class again. These top two are interesting and close for me to evaluate. This Red Bull that's going to win it, I think, is genuinely the heaviest muscle that we've got in the group. I like how clean his hocks are, particularly as you get into the inside of those joints. I like the sheath that's on him. He gives up probably a little WDA in this class, but in terms of wide build, sound structure, I think he's got the most to offer. The black bull that ends up second to him, big testicled rascal, really long. I like the way this one's built from the side. He's a long ways from being light muscled, but he can't quite match the stoutness. Got a little more sheath underneath him, and they're close. They're both really good. I'd like both those bulls really well. Tremendous amount of performance in this third place calf. Really like the length of body in him. He's got that advantage. I'd just change him in his hip structure and the way he handles his hind leg.
Well, congratulations in the Beefmaster ring. Results out of Class 28 before the division. First place will go to Lissy's Beefmasters of Stockdale, Texas. Second place exhibited by Cattleman. And third place will go to West Compton.
got some single entries in this division that we hadn't seen till they came back out here in the division drive. So just my thoughts on each one of them. This bull that won the first class, he's a muscular rascal. He beat a really neat built bull in that particular class just because he was a little stouter, a little more opened up all the way through his center. That's a bull that he still looks a little piecey probably, but I think in time he'll probably come together. Maybe not quite the hip structure in him that we've got some other class winners out here, but I like a lot of parts of that bull really well, and he's sound and stout, and I think that's always important. The bull that came out of the second class, a bull that really long, bull that's got a good angle to his hock. He's flexible at the ground. I'd drop him a little deeper back in his flank line, but I see a lot of good in that rascal as well. This third class, as we take a look at him, a bull that's very sound, goes with good reach, but I'd like to open him up more right through his center skeleton and just see him a little stouter, heavier muscled. And then a bull I like a great deal that came out of the Februarys. That bull, I think any particular thing you want to look at. If you like sound cattle, you like long, stout, high-performing cattle, cattle that have got enough rib and particularly a lot of muscle chucked into him on top of that, complements that with a good sheath angle. I think that bull has a lot to offer. Is he the straightest line, strongest top? Oh, probably not. But looking at bulls this age, that rascal combines a lot of things that I consider pretty important. And then a bull that's built similar to him that comes out of the Januarys. A bull that's opened up and wide, toes ahead really true, genuinely and stout in his hip. Probably not quite the weight per day of age in him that we've gotten that bull out of the class that precedes him. I'm going to tie to those two bulls. I'm going to use this bull directly in front of me here for division champion, and we'll drop down to that January for reserve.
Well, congratulations. Back over in the Beefmaster ring, champion bull calf exhibited by Cal Tassin of Sandy Hook, Mississippi. Reserve champion go to Lissy Beefmasters of Stockdale, Texas. We'll now look to see the intermediate bull division. Over in the Brangus ring,
We've actually got a couple single entries for those of you at ringside. We've got an October bull as a single entry that's going to be a class winner. Then we've got a May This bigger bull followed in behind him there. And there's a lot of things I could say about these two rascals that's pretty similar. I like that both of them have got a good degree of muscle in them compositionally. They look like yearling bulls that ought to in terms of being trim, thick, really good top shape to them, and a lot of hip. The bulls are, I think, good testicle, particularly like the testicular development of that May. I think they're good bodied. Along with that turn to the rib, they've got a lot of depth of rib. I think sheath angle's good on both of them. Thing that separates them, and to me, the reason why I like one of them a little better to win the division is just flexibility when we set them in motion. And I think this younger calf goes with more reach, does a nicer job of filling his track. So we're going to tie to him for division champion, use the older bull for reserve.
Well, congratulations. Your champion intermediate bull exhibited by Blue Ribbon and Noah Stockman of De Leon, Texas, and reserve champion exhibited by Cale Tassin. We'll now welcome in the 3 single entries in your junior bull division.
We've actually got 3 class winners out here as single entries, going a division drive, getting into these spring yearling bulls. I'll tell you what I see in each one of them. This bull out of the youngest class, young lady showing here directly in front of me. Very long-bodied, very thick. I like his testicular carriage really well. Really appreciate that bull when we set the cattle in motion. His reach, the way he goes, he's athletic. He balances up nice, a lot of rib in him. I think there's a lot of good in that rascal. Bulls are important. 80 to 90% of genetic change over time is a result of sire selection. We got 3 good ones out here, but I like him awfully well. A bull that rivals him, probably even heavier muscled, is this next youngest bull. That bull is big testicled. He is really stout. I like the huge top in him, the big hip. He looks like he could power up a calf crop pretty well. Tremendous amount of bone underneath him. That bull probably doesn't go with quite the reach that he could, but he toes ahead really true. Joint angles look pretty good. A lot of good in that particular bull. And then the oldest bull in this group, really long, I think represents a very high-performing kind. Probably as much length of spine, WDA, and that bull as any of these 3. He's really good in that respect. Not quite as bold in his forerib and heart girth there as what he could be, but I appreciate the length of body in him extremely well. It's 3 good class winners. I am going to tie to the youngest bull to win this division and drop down to that next oldest bull to be reserved.
Well, congratulations. Your champion and reserve junior bulls will be exhibited by Lissy Beefmasters. We'll now look to see class 34 and 35 here for your senior bull drive. Back over in the Brangus ring, we're single entry class winners that we bring back out with some age spread here, then a division drive. This bull that out of the younger class, bull that's got a lot of performance, a lot of depth of body.
I think a bull that's pretty sound, a bull that gets out and goes in good shape. Kind of interesting in a way his testicles are setting in him, but I appreciate that there's sure more than adequate testicular development to him. I'd change him just a little in his hip structure. I see a lot of good in that one. This painted up bull that comes out of the younger class, or the older class, excuse me, a bull that catches my eye in terms of balance, and just the way he's marked up makes him unique. But boy, you study him beyond that, really well balanced bull. He's got some navel flap to him, but his angle's really good down low. He's big testicled. Joints are clean for a big bull like this. Got good flexibility at the ground, and just absolutely chucked full of power as you get on him from behind. I like the turn to his rib. I think he's got enough depth of rib. I like that bull a great deal. We're going to tie to him for division champion. Go to this bigger bull for reserve. Congratulations, these exhibitors.
Well, congratulations, your champion senior bull, exhibited by Callie Ellis. That's Ellis Gambler, reserve champion, exhibited by Debbie Elder. We're now going to welcome in all of your division champion reserves. We'll select a grand and reserve grand champion, Beefmaster bull.
Well, we're kind of at the highlight here as we end up the Beefmaster show. I know we still got some more heifers to work, potentially some other stuff, but looking at bulls come out, and as I said a minute ago, bulls are such a key component of breeding programs, and over time, they make such a difference, leading us in the direction we want to go. And I know we didn't see a volume of bulls today, but this set of division winners is really good. They're powerful cattle, they're wide cattle, they're sound. Really impressed with them. Some of them got a little more look than others. There's a couple of them out here that stand out to me. But again, as I said at the end of the heifer show, means a lot to me to have this opportunity. I think there is a place for a lot of breeds of cattle in this country. We have so much diversity in production environments. The cattle that I've seen today are going to fit, do a lot of good and a lot of operations, and a fun opportunity for me to work through them. It's also neat to me, and I'll get into this briefly, and I don't want to get emotional, but to get to judge in this new Coliseum, good opportunity for me. I've been down here at the Congress for close to 2 weeks. We've had cattle we've marketed. We've done a judging contest, the national contest, and the memorial for the namesake of my good friend and mentor, Gerald Callahan. We finished that up yesterday morning, and get the opportunity to work in this Coliseum and at the show that my friend Gerald was the architect of starting at a time of crisis in this country as we dealt with COVID back 6 years ago is special for me. So I appreciate the opportunity. Very complimentary of the exhibitors. I'll take another look, get us a couple champion bulls ringside if you would. Very well-earned round of applause for a great set of bulls back out here.
Well, congratulations, your grand champion Beefmaster bull, exhibited by Callie Ellis. That's Ellis Gambler. And congratulations, Reserve Grand Champion, exhibited by Lissy Beefmasters of Stockdale, Texas. That's Lissy's Challenger ET. Again, congratulations to all of those exhibitors. We do have an Advancer E6 show to see here.
This is a nice pair of heifers in this class coming out with these Mays and Junes. But this heifer that wins it in a pair that have got some rib and some performance and some muscle. There's just an extra gear to her in terms of style and eye appeal, ring presence, and she balances up really nice, really true on her feet and legs. Really nice heifer. This solid black one that's going to end up second to her, a lot of good in her. Long-bodied, really parallel in her lines, deep in that flank line. Good hip, good top line in her. Both those heifers are really sound. That one hasn't got quite the eye appeal.
Well, congratulations. Back over in the Brangus ring, results. To start out your Advancer E6 show, first place was exhibited by Callie Ellis. Second place went to Blue Ribbon Beefmasters. We're now going to bring in those single entries as well as your first and second. Out of our first class, we'll select a champion reserve Advancer E6 female.
Get into the variety of ages back out here in the Advancer E6 Champion Drive. Each one of these heifers is a division winner. First time in the ring for 3 of them. Talked about this young heifer that won the first division just a minute ago in class. Good bodied, enough thickness, really sound structured, tremendous look to that female, really well presented. The heifer that comes out of the next older division right behind her. I like her degree of bone. I really like her muscle thickness. I think she's at the right stage of condition, given her age as we look at her out here. I think there's a lot of future to that female. Would I blend her together a little smoother from her shoulder back into her heart girth there? Probably, but I think a lot of that stuff will take care of itself in time. I think that heifer will be a lot of fun to work with over the next couple years in the show ring. She got enough power to her. I think she'll have something to add in terms of cow power. The heifer, but just behind her, excuse me, the heifer right behind her, next older division, really good bodied. She looks like she'll make as easy a keeping cow as probably any of these 3 once we put her in production. She's a heifer whose proportions are nice. I like that heifer on the profile in terms of the way she blends together. I'd change her a little bit as she gets out and goes. I think she could flex just a little easier down in her ankle than what she does, but just the basic build, the look on profile, and the body type is really easy for me to like. Then we get into this oldest heifer. This heifer's got a lot to offer. She hits me really well as we get him out on the lead. She is really good in her skeletal base, her flexibility, the way she hits the ground. She's very athletic on the go. She's a heifer that's very appropriate in condition. She's got some muscle and width and body. Still looks trim. I like her athleticism. I think there's a lot of good in that female. We could maybe make her a little more attractive up in her front end, but I'm not going to say much to be real critical there. Again, not many of these, but a really nice set of division winners back out here in a champion drive. Let's give them a round of applause, and I'll get us a couple champions.
Well, congratulations, your grand champion, Advancer E6 female, exhibited by Callie Ellis with Alice Dime ET. And reserve champion to come out of the final class, exhibited by Blue Ribbon Beefmasters with WR Joanna. That does conclude our Beefmaster show today here in the OG&E Coliseum. We'd like to thank Dr. Mark Johnson for joining us today. We will get started with your Brahmin show here at noon in Arena 2.
Thank you for joining us for Cattleman's Congress. This has been a Walton Webcasting production. Livestock like you've never seen before.